The ex-housekeeper Alton Jeff.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I am Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. Let's do this, guys. Man, we are excited for a big episode. We have a special guest with us today, so we are excited to introduce you to him very soon. But first, we want you to know that we are sponsored by the Virtual Fight Tour. And, man, they have a big show coming up February 26th, Ladies' Night. It's going to be amazing. There already is, 9 fights on this card?
It's like there's more fights being announced.
So it's going to be a big show to really feature the ladies, you know.
Nikki Pelland. Her last name's not Pelland. Forgive me. I know that
Yeah.
that might be disrespectful, but I forgot what her new last name is. That's the hard thing, you know, when you're recognized so long in the martial arts world, they just know you as one name.
Right.
I still think some people call Casey Nash Casey Marks even.
I do. I mean? I still do. So yeah.
There you go. You know what I mean? Yeah. So Nikki she's fighting, and I'm like, wow, this is nice.
That really excited me because I was excited to see that, and I think that's going to be a great matchup with her and Danny, because Danny is a great up and comer who is all around competitor, but a really good and tough fighter. You know, she can be a scrapper at times. So, really excited to see that fight. Regina Thompson is putting this on with Jesse, really a big part of it. And she is probably going to be centering most of the fights. So it's going to be really cool. And I'm excited to hear who the commentators are going to be. You know, they got some guest commentators that will be doing it, and really trying to make sure that that there's just women all involved in this. So if you haven't yet, go purchase your tickets for Virtual Fight Tour. I have several people that I know I'm trying to support, like Serafina Fish from down here, Brianna Tewitt from North Carolina, also on my team, Team Heartland South. So going to be a great show. We also were sponsored by Censor Sports, and they just had a great show this past weekend. And we are going to be talking about that with our guest, as he was one of the fighters on it, and definitely got a lot of people talking, and was a crowd favorite. So
I think it's going to be a big deal, you know, with what we're doing with that. I mean, there was a lot of, we're going to get into kind of what our thoughts were about that later, but I think this thing's got some legs, man. Yeah. It's got some legs that it can go further, you know, and that's kind of what we're looking. Everybody's looking for a little bit of an edge. What can we do? You know, what's the new thing? Yeah. You know what, Jeff? Speaking of edge, I was thinking about this, right? So when we were at AK, I can't really say Chicago because it was Schaumburg, but everybody, you could be 30 miles away, they'll still say Chicago, right? So we were in Chicago for the AK Warrior Cup. I felt like I was amongst celebrity when I was just like standing next to you, right?
All right.
Everybody, listen, you guys you think I might be like blowing smoke. This is for real, right? Everybody kept coming up to Jeff, and this was the language. This is the language that people would use. They'd be like, man, I told all my students to watch you. I told all my students to watch the way you kick. I told them to watch it. Man, you're awesome. Hey, the elbow drop. The twist kick from the knee. Oh, the way you held it. Oh, it's so cool. But since it was exactly that, like, I got super excited to watch it. All right. It wasn't just that I was watching my friend. It wasn't just that I was watching my podcast partner. I was super excited to watch that type of martial arts training. And then it got to it when people kept talking about, like, hey man, can you do some of this with me? Can you do some of this with me? So I'm gonna drop this out there. Okay.
Okay.
This is me saying this. This is Alex. This is me saying this. So there is a prominent young martial arts competitor. Very good. This competitor is very good. In all respects, probably could be like, I don't need no one's help. I'm already like that. I'm a world champion. But decided, no, I understand who is the best kicker in forms in the world right now. I understand who's probably got the best Korean forms in the world right now. I'm going to do some training with them. All right. And we don't listen. These people probably listen to the show. We'll leave it up to them. They want to say, yeah, I train with Jeff Doss. That's up to them. I'll say it like that. Okay. However, I thought it was funny because you and I talk about this stuff all the time, right? When you were like, yeah, they thought it was funny when we were kicking with both sides, right? And I'm like, this is what you do, right? But it's truthfully, if you're not held accountable, you won't, right? Because it's easy to do it the other way. Like when we were talking today, I was like, yeah, man, when I knew I didn't have the same kind of accountability when I moved out here, I knew like I was the one that was keeping people accountable. Nobody was really having eyes on me. Nobody really cared. I didn't kick with both sides the same. And my hips are not the same.
Not the same.
It's not just that you do a detriment to yourself martial arts wise. You are physically going to alter your body in a way you don't want. Because when people say like, oh man, they're a natural at martial arts. That's not true. These are not natural movements. They're not natural motions. So there's no such thing as a natural. Someone could develop a skill quickly. That's a good thing. But there's no such thing as natural. So to be able to train both sides is very important to have that balance. But
big time.
Let me just say that. So if you guys are looking to up your kick game, there's nobody else to look for other than Jeff Doss. I'm just going to say that. That's just me.
Thanks, Alex. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Awesome. All right. So let's bring in our special guest. There he is, Mr. Charlie Davidson from Texas.
How's it going, everyone?
Texas himself. You can't get more Texas than that. Look at that. Look at that. Got long horns in the back, just like that, right over his head. That is, I've never seen something more Texas.
You guys got to see my cowskin rug over here.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, that's even more Texas. Yeah. Oh man, how have you been, Charlie?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on, both you guys. Like long time, look forward to catching up. Looking forward to the show, but things are great.
Awesome, man. So everyone just saw you this past weekend, and some people were thinking, man, Charlie's back. What's he's been doing? You know what I mean? And we've known you for a while, so you're always traveling with work and everything, and what you've done over the past 20 years. You've lived in Virginia for a while, Illinois, Texas, all over the place. And we'll get into that. But it was really cool to see you fight this weekend, right? And the biggest thing Carlos and Travis kept saying on the commentary was he's fighting like a heavyweight. He's a heavyweight. He's the bull in the china shop, which is definitely what I've always described you as well when you fight.
Yeah.
So what was that like fighting? You were fighting Vito first round at Censor Sports. Just explain the experience of that.
Yeah, well, first off, it was such an awesome event. Like from the time that we all walked in the door, we all kind of grew up fighting each other, and we've seen each other on the circuit. So there was a lot of camaraderie. There was some laughing and joking around while people warmed up. But I mean, it was pretty obvious, like everybody was there to win. So like it was, it got intense when they started saying go. Yeah, I knew Vito was my first fight. They had published the bracket a little earlier. So I definitely spent a lot of time and most of my preparation for Vito, watching the videos. And my dad and my brother actually are my coaches / managers, I guess. And I just remember them talking on the phone. We talked a few days before about, okay, what's the final game plan? And they said, my younger brother, James, who you guys know too, he's a world champion as well, James Davidson. He said, look, man, we're just going to keep this simple, right? You're just going to do Charlie. Vito is a great Texas fighter. He's going to come at you. He's going to come with the kicks. He fights just like you, like mirror image of you. And you're just going to do the same thing, but you're going to do it better. And you're going to be more aggressive. And you're going to be a heavyweight, and you're going to be bigger. And they were like, we're just not going to say anything more than that, right? Like you're going to be aggressive and, just be yourself. Don't try to do some other things. I've been kind of tweaking my fight game over the few tournaments leading up to this to try to find the right style. And we just said, man, throw that out the window and you just do you. You just be you, do what feels natural and just go.
Awesome.
That's got to feel great to get that kind of coaching. Does that just feel like a weight lifted off your shoulders when you hear coaching like that? How does that make you feel?
It feels really great. I mean, I obviously have a ton of respect for my dad and for my younger brother. They've seen every fight I've ever fought since I was a white belt, or competing in the Texas circuit up to now. So they know me very well. They know my limitations. They know my strengths. And it really did feel good to kind of just say, hey, I'm just going to relax. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to be myself. I'm not going to try to be something else. I'm not going to try to do something new while we're there. I mean, it did feel very comforting to hear them say, like, we have the confidence in your style and the way that you fight, and we think you're going to be a great matchup, and you're going to do well.
Awesome. So explain that fight. So, man, Vito comes out, and just like you said, guns blazing. It looks like he's trying to finish that fight like as fast as he can, and you actually end up turning around and winning that round, right?
Yeah, I did. So it was really interesting. I prepared for Vito to come out just going, right? Like that's the Vito we all know. And I think he was maybe coming off a hamstring injury or something I kind of heard after the fact, but I literally had trained to like step in with a tight guard and then come over the top. And I literally stepped in to do that and he didn't kick. And I was like, oh crap, and then he went pow pow and hit me. And then I was like, well, surely on the next clash, that's what he's going to do. And so I stepped in just like that, and then pow, pow, he hit me. And I was like, all right, well, he's not going to be kicking in the same way. And so I started giving him some different looks, and I was patient. Like I said, like, hey, everything is 1 point. Like, it's going to be okay. Like, work your way back. Right. And I think I got 3 in a row, and that was kind of the turn of the fight. I will say the one interesting thing that happened in that first round was I was obviously very aggressive, as you guys have mentioned. Yeah. I think I hit my face on his shoulder or his elbow, but my nose just was bleeding like crazy, ridiculous. So, I mean, I look like Rocky with blood all over my white uniform. And,
I thought I saw that. I couldn't tell because of light, but I was like, is he bleeding?
Yeah.
And I could tell that your brother and your dad were helping you. So I was like, something's going on.
Yeah. Sometimes I like when you're coming to like overcome something, it's like, well, like let's forget about this, and just focus on what we got going on. But yeah, it was really cool to kind of, overcome that.
And so like for some people, like I guess the way they had it was, Vito was like the number 2 ranked fighter in that group. So you definitely, put up like an upset. For someone like me, I knew it was, able, because I've seen you fight kickers like that and beat like Jamad, Wiggins on stage in my tournament, for the grand championship, and other guys like that are great kickers and lengthy like, like Vito, So it was awesome to see because like, all right, Charlie's back. And it's so much fun watching you because you're just going to go, you know what I mean? And it's not in a go like, I don't have a strategy, you know what I mean? You know what you're doing, but like you also, I mean, it looks like, you're a football player, that you know what I mean? But there you go.
I mean, you said it, Jeff. Charlie, when I tried to explain to you to other people before, I don't know if you remember the first time we got to training together when Dwan Brown made the introduction together. I was like, man, this dude is cool, right? And we were training and we fought, and I was like, what in the world is this dude? And I was telling some people that missed, I was like, do you don't understand what you missed, right? And they were like, wow, what's so special about him? I was like, and at that time, I was pretty good kicker, right? I was pretty good, right? And I was like, I think he's better than me, right, at kicking. And they're like, nah. And I was like, yeah. And he's probably 220 with like 8% body fat. And he's football strong, right? And in Illinois, they don't really produce like top end like football athletes, right? So it's not like you're producing a lot of them. So like, what is that? What does football strong mean? And I'm like, you don't really get it. But that's exactly it. Like very explosive. And I remember, Jeff, I gotta tell you a story because it blew my mind. I tell the story to people like every now and then, and I was like, this dude had me questioning like what I could even do with my feet.
Okay.
Charlie, when we would train together, Charlie would dive at me with a check. Like he'd dive and he'd lead with his face like this, right? Straight in. And he'd just take his guard completely away and just lead with his hand. And he'd check my ankle like down at the ground. So naturally, I'm like, oh, here, I'm de-side kicking this guy, but there's nothing to side kick because his hand's already on my ankle.
Right.
And after the second time, I'm like, I'm just punching myself at this point, right? With such intensity.
Yeah.
I'm like, I gotta be friends with this guy.
Yeah.
That's funny you say that, Alex. My younger brother would say, after the nose and everything, he's like, there you go, leading with your face again, So you described it perfectly, like leading it like that.
Oh, that's great.
That's funny. That's funny. Oh, man. Another great person grew up competing with us. Edgar just says it's good to see you back in the ring, Charlie. Edgar Cordova.
Thanks, Edgar.
Awesome.
Let's circle back. So we saw, or wait, should we keep going with the
Yeah, let's go. So the next fight, you went against the young guy, Manny Hernandez, right? And
I think it was Lito. I took Lito next.
Yeah, I guess that's still the same person. It's just Lito's like his nickname.
Okay.
But his actual name is Manny. Yeah, it's confused everyone. But yeah, so Lito, yeah. And man, that was a great fight. Like that went all 3 rounds. And
yeah, so the first round I lost in overtime, and then the second round I won outright, and then I lost the third one by 2 points, I think. So yeah, super close.
Yeah, it was a great fight too. As soon as I felt like you were getting momentum, like he somehow turned it around. And it wasn't like anybody was blowing anybody out. It was just that I guess that second round you fought him, you won by a few. I feel like, right? Was it 3 maybe?
Yeah, I think it was like maybe 3. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 on that one. Now, which round was it because you ended up getting the fastest round, right? Was that the first round of the fight against Vito?
Actually, it was the second round against Vito.
Okay.
So yeah, I think at that point I kind of really realized what Vito was doing. That the kicks wasn't there, and how to set up. I got a couple good side kicks right under his guard, which was part of the plan, and then set up my hands. And then I think I kind of capped it all off with a defensive side kick, which I had told myself I would do. But yeah, the second round against Vito ended up being the fastest round of the match.
Awesome, and it's cool. They gave a little extra bonus check for that, just a reward.
Yeah, that was special.
It's just a fun thing, that I thought more events need to do things like that. And with a Grand Prix like this, you definitely can. And it was cool. It was real easy to go vote. And do it on my phone and go from there and vote for whoever. Because I guess they had performer or it was People's Champ, and then technique of the night, and then so those are the 2 I guess to vote for. And then of course whoever won got their prize money, and then the fastest round was one you straight up kind of knew. You didn't have to vote on that one. So.
I didn't know it at the time. Like, I was really surprised to hear Gil, them call my name on that one. I mean, I guess we all have a clock in our head or whatever, but I fully intended to go 3 fights with Vito. I mean, the way I was training and preparing and had my mind ready and stuff. So even I was surprised to, win 2 rounds right off the bat against him because he is such a great fighter. And honestly, as I was stacking the people up and doing the own ranking in my head, I mean, I thought he was the toughest draw right off the bat.
Right.
So I give him all the credit in that fight.
Now Peter Chartuni ended up winning the event. He looked great, man. I mean, he had a great game plan for this. I mean, I know he trains with Chad, so I'm sure he's been trying to use this stuff as much as possible. But that was something we talked about last week, is that Peter had been training big time for it, and it showed, man. He fought great.
It did.
So
it did, yeah. His blitzes were working really well, and I will say, my fight with Lito, I kept trying to, to blitz him, and he was defensive sidekicking me. And then I saw his fight with Peter, and Peter was scoring on him. And I was like, well, Peter's hands are not faster than mine. Like, how is he getting past it? And, I was kind of joking around with that after the match and stuff. But Peter did train hard. It showed for sure. He was super sharp, super polished, and he's a class act. So, I mean, everybody was really cool after the event.
And funny? Just overall, what's your take of the event, and what do you hope to see on the next one?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was super cool. I mean, especially to get such a close group of guys to come in there and spar. Being able to broadcast it on video, like I know that's becoming more and more popular. It was very cool to send the link out to, people that I know all over the country or people that I've trained with in the past. Like, I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and we just had fun. Like we just really had fun. You know, it was different with the countdown of the score.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that
from 5 and
definitely,
down. Yeah,
I was gonna ask you that.
yeah,
So
Did you
it
get
got
thrown off?
confusing. Well, I mean, they messed the score up one time, and thank God my wife was videoing it because she was like, "Well, the score is really 3-1, you know, in the first fight against Vito." I mean, credit to Chad because he was keeping all that in his head. I asked before the fight, I was like, "How are you going to score?" And he was like, "I'm going to say light point, you know, and kind of go that way." But then you're counting down, so you're looking at the scoreboard, and
yeah.
it was just very different.
Yeah.
I can't think of a sport that counts down in points, so like. Maybe it was just a little different for everybody when it comes to that.
Yeah, that part's a little different. I mean, I think still in the way it is when you look at it, I guess because you're thinking you're counting down, everything else is opposite, but still the person who has the most points is still winning. So it's still the same, you know what I mean? Yeah, but it just feels different because it's going down. So yeah. And you felt like, wait a minute, I didn't earn those 5 points. I didn't score anything to get that. So yeah, it feels a little weird. So yeah, I mean, there may be some adjustments on that, but I guess it has that video game feel is what they're, you know, like the life
Totally like
bars.
that.
Yeah.
You would just call
and it didn't
like
take long. Yeah.
bars of health or something. Whatever we called it in video games in the past, you know.
It didn't take long to get used to maybe the first fight. And you know, of course we were kind of training that way and already trying to get our mind right for it. But I mean, nothing's like the real thing. So it definitely took a good fight to kind of get my mind wrapped around like, okay, we're counting down. Like, don't freak out when you look at the scoreboard and it's 3-1, you know, and you got the the one. So
Right. What all right, how does it feel? What's the vibration like when you get hit and then you get that vibration to signify that you got hit again? What was that weird or did you even notice it?
I didn't notice it much. I mean, I will say, like, I kind of fight so aggressively that mine was buzzing every time, no matter what. So, like, even when I'm scoring, like, I'm also getting hit somehow, or I'm running into them, and that's running my sensor as well. So,
That's true.
It was a little bit of that. Maybe for a normal fighter, you know, they would probably feel it a little more, but it was like every clash for me.
Okay, got it. Awesome. So let's just kind of get into your history. So I know you started when you were a young kid, and where are you from?
I got a quick one.
Yeah, go.
You know, as long as we're going back to the start of it. So, Cliff Notes version. A lot of people know this. Some people don't. But you mentioned your brother James, right?
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned that you guys are football strong. James was an NFL football player.
That's right.
And I remember the conversation you and I had, and I've taken it. I love your dad, man. I had and your mom, but I had the few short conversations I've had with your dad. I'm like, I like this guy, right? And I remember what you were telling me about him when you guys were talking about when your dad would sign you up for football. This is in Texas, by the way, right?
Yeah.
When your dad was like, no, we're not going to sign him up for football right away, right? Which everybody does, right? So it's like as soon as they can put on shoulder pads, get them out there, right? But your dad, and from what the conversation we had, he's like, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to start him in martial arts. And that was like a tough selling point to like the rest of your family, apparently. And the way that your dad sold it, he was like, this has so much more life skills that he will develop, and it will set them up so much easier to where they can transition to that if they choose to do that at a later date. Fast forward. Now, James is playing at football at the highest level. And I remember a conversation that you were telling me that you had, because like Jeff already mentioned, you lived in this place when you were working, you lived in that place when you were working, you lived in this. So you've had a number of job interviews, and we'll get into the one you have now later.
Yeah, sure.
Right. And I remember you were telling me, and you were like, it has made me giggle when you said, an employer was interviewing me. He's like, yeah, tell me about a time when you had to overcome adversity. You were like, yeah, when I was in this other country and everybody was rooting against me in a different language and I had to fight against them, and they were all chanting me down, and then I beat them and won the world title. Yeah, I guess that would be a time.
Exactly.
Your employer was like, "What?" Right. So, like, obviously, your family like is a living proof of why martial arts is so important over other sports. Please take that and run with it, Charlie.
Yeah, so my father, my father was never a martial artist himself. In fact, he was a multi-sport athlete, baseball, football, in college, and at various levels. So was my older brother, and my dad just saw the benefit of martial arts. With our coordination, with our footwork, with our flexibility, with the things that we were accomplishing, and he did not allow us to play other sports, any other sport. I didn't play baseball. I didn't play anything until I got to high school, and James was in 8th grade. And we both ended up like really great athletes across all sports. I could have played college football. I did walk on the track team at Baylor for a while. James obviously did a great college career, a professional career. That was awesome. And I'll tell you, for any of you parents out there, like when James introduced himself to the Cincinnati Bengals when he got drafted, he was like, "Oh, I'm James Davidson. I was All-American at UTEP. I'm from Texas, this, that, and the other." The coach is like, "Tell him the good part." And he's like, "I've got 3 black belts and I'm a 3-time karate world champion." And everybody's like, "Oh," it's like, that is like the unique thing that other people don't have.
Right.
Even at that level,
Awesome. Man. So what,
wait. I want to unpack that real quick, Jeff. So,
Sure.
wait a minute. You guys started football at the high school level.
Right. That's crazy.
That's right.
In Texas.
That's right.
Does that happen?
It really
I
doesn't.
feel like it doesn't, but I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
From Pop Warner all the way up, or if you're now athlete specialized so much. If you're a baseball player, you only played baseball from the time you were 7 up. I remember my brother James. Obviously a great athlete. He didn't start baseball until 7th or 8th grade. And the Cincinnati Reds offered him a tryout. So it's like, well, you almost played pro baseball, and like you don't have to do that. And I guess again, just such a testament to martial arts and learning how to compete and overcome adversity and just get your body and everything in the right place and your mind in the right place. I mean, that's exactly right, Alex.
It's so cool, man. It's awesome. I have my fiance's family is all in Texas, so yeah. I mean, I know how it is. Like they have their kids starting. It's either baseball, football, and then for the girls it's cheerleading, and they're doing it all at before the age of 10 and traveling and everything like we do when we're doing what we do. You know what I mean? I mean, it's the same type thing. So
Alex, I have the quickest story. Talk about my family's definitely all in, right? Like when we commit to something, we commit. I remember in high school, my senior year, I had a scrimmage during the day, and then we caught an airplane out of my small hometown in Texas to a karate tournament where I fought that afternoon. I cannot make that up. Like
awesome.
We were just all in on everything, and martial arts never fell by the wayside for anything.
That's so cool, man.
And that's from what I gathered from Mr. and Mrs. Davidson. They own stock in Southwest. They are on Southwest all the time.
That's about right.
So Charlie, explain just kind of mostly, like I know you from the NBL circuit, and that was really kind of when you did, of course, the local Texas circuits. Explain that, but really just how you got involved in the NBL and just your success there.
Yeah, absolutely. So my brother and I competed in the Texas circuit, which was called AOK, and it was very strong. I mean, every week Chad Cannon was in my division. Like a lot of these guys, that you're just fighting on a weekly basis. So that circuit was very strong. And then we got encouraged by Bear Loby, was actually my forms coach. I know you know Bear, Jeff. Yes. And he said, "Man, you guys got to try some NBL." And we were also pretty close to the Northcuts at that time. And so we kind of said, okay, let's try this. And we started doing some NBL tournaments. I remember my very first NBL tournament, I actually fought and beat Ryan George in New Orleans.
Wow.
For my first NBL tournament.
Wow, in New Orleans. Wow.
And, obviously, I think he's the fiercest competitor that I've ever gone against. I've told him before that whenever he's at a high level, he always has another gear that he can shift to. Like, when you think you're going as hard as you can, he'll just shift it to another gear, and you're like, whoa, like where'd that come from? So that's how we got started, and we were competing in the NBL circuit, and just really building our resume. It wasn't until I broke out into the adult, like the 18 plus, and I started fighting heavyweight that I started actually winning super grands. And we were very involved in continuous fighting at the time too. We really enjoyed that, and was winning a lot of those titles as well. So that's kind of how we got started.
Came down to you and your brother because you are both like heavyweights.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Jeff. Yeah, so my brother and I, both being super heavyweights, like we were in the same division. And so you can only separate each other so far. There was literally 3 times where a super grand stage came down to me and James, like first and second. And, we always have a rule in our house, like you never fight your brother. We learned that since we were like 8 and 9 year olds, like fighting for the state championship, like you never fight your brother. So the first year, James humbly gave it to me. He said, hey, man, like you earned it. You competed harder this year. Like it's yours. The following time, I gave it to him. And then the third time, we literally flipped a coin. So that's how the Davidson brothers solve arguments, I guess.
Wait, now time out. Did you guys really never fight each other? Like training, competition? Did you really never fight each other?
Yeah, training was different. And,
all right. That's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
we trained with each other. But yeah, like we never fought in a tournament against one another. And Jeff, you'll get a kick out of this. That can make getting the number 1 seeds for Super Grands difficult, right? If you're always going to the same tournament and only one of you can have first place, well, who's going to win the conference and, the way all that stuff works. So I'll never forget one weekend, my mom took me to California to compete, and my dad took James to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina to compete.
Right.
And we separated. And I remember James fought Cass Sigmund over on the other coast, and I was like, oh, I wish I could have seen that fight. That was, that's great. But I mean, that was the commitment that we had, that our parents literally like separated us both at karate tournaments, opposite coasts. Really cool.
That's really cool, man. That's really cool.
So, and this is why I tell you, this is why I say things like, dude, I am fans of Mama and Papa Davidson.
Right.
Because
that's right.
Here, and I'll say this because there's a lot of parents, and now you are, all right, Charlie, all right?
That's right.
That listen, that are involved in martial arts. People say things like, listen, I would do anything for my kids.
Yeah. But where do you draw the line?
Right.
Would you? Right. I think what a lot of them mean is I would do a lot of things. I would sacrifice a lot of things for my kids. Would you do anything? I got to be honest, hearing that story makes it challenging for me. I don't know if I would do that. That is a true statement on my end. Like I gotta, if my kids were in that scenario, someone's fighting someone.
So I got a cool thing to bring up, Alex. So when my brother played at University of Texas, El Paso, that's where he played his college football. My parents never missed a game, home or away, in 5 years. They flew to every game.
All right, this is crazy. Okay, so we're talking about a crazy athletic family. We're talking about commitment. We're talking about just dedication to not just your craft, but your sport, your activity. All right, so now Charlie's past high school. Now he's past because you went to Baylor, all right? So you walked on to the track team.
That's crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, wait, you played track with, you were on the track team with who else?
Robert Griffin. Yeah. We talked about that.
That was
a great guy, by the way.
Wow. That's cool.
So
super cool.
Now you find yourself traveling across the country to various cities for work. What were you doing then?
Yeah. So I got hired out of Baylor. I worked at Allstate, and I think a lot of people can relate. In corporate America, generally, if you're willing to move, you can move, and have good performance with your work, you can move up. And so literally every year I would move to a new city and I would get promoted. They say, well, so I started in Roanoke, Virginia, which, I remember opening my first assignment and I was like, do you guys hate me? Like where is this place? And we were driving through town, going through Main Street and everything. And long story short, I ended up meeting Sean Elliott and Gina Thornton there. Like, what are the chances? And I got to train with Sean and with Gina for that whole year, which I can't say enough awesome things about them. Like, I got to compete in the local circuits. They took me to mass small tournaments. We went to some NASCA tournaments. And I'll have you guys know, Sean is the same guy outside of the ring as he is like on the show or whatever else. I mean, I will never forget the time that we drove all the way to Philadelphia, and Gina and I both lost our first fight. And nobody said a word the whole drive home, like 6 hours, but nobody said a word. And then finally Sean says, so you guys want to beat those people? You want to be champions every week? Quit your jobs, train full time. Right now you're partial artists. And it's just the same stuff he says on the show, man. It was just wild, right? Also, I will say him and Gina have a very unique relationship, which as an outsider and a third party, like, it was kind of interesting to see and be a part of. I hope he doesn't mind me telling this story, but Gina's very strong. We had them both on together
before.
Right. And I heard that episode, and that's why I was saying he's the same guy, outside the ring, inside the ring. So I hope he didn't mind me telling the story, but they have a unique relationship. Obviously I'm a third party. I've been around and I'm working hard with them, but Gina's very strong-willed and everything, and so is Master Elliott. Yeah. And I remember one time Gina wanted to like run a drill or something, and Master Elliott was like, "No, shut it down. You're done." And so she comes over to me and's like, "Will you throw the med ball for me?" And I was like, I'm like kind of between them. I was like, "Yeah, sure, okay, fine," And Master Elliott comes up to me and he's like, "When I tell her no, that doesn't mean you get to do it," or something. I was like, "Look, dude, I'm just here." Like,
wow.
Oh man.
So that was a really cool time. And so that was a really cool time. Like, I really invested in my training. I got to continue to compete and everything. And then I got the call and it was like, "You can get promoted. Will you move to Chicago?" And I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure, cool." So I moved to Chicago and I first met Dewan. I first met Dewan, and then I met Alex, and I got to train at National Karate with Alex, and that was awesome, right? Like, the martial arts community is so open that anywhere you go, people, and they're so open to let you train and to work with them. So then I started training with Alex and then learned a ton, and that was super fun, super cool. We had Ross Cook in there, Dewan, ourselves, just having fun and continuing to work. I moved back to Texas. I started training with some local guys around here. I went back to Chicago, and then I kind of took a break a little. I moved back to Texas again, took a little break from martial arts at that time. I had just won the Yellow Rose in San Antonio. Took a pretty vicious kick from Willie Hicks actually in that fight. And so true story about that one, right? I was doing a consulting role for Allstate where every week I would fly wherever I'm going to work. So I said, okay, no problem. I'll fly from Chicago to San Antonio. I'll fight this tournament. And then I'm supposed to be at work in LA on Monday. And I actually went to the hospital that night after that kick. I got checked out and everything. Yeah. Long story short, I fly to LA to work on Monday, and just the whole side of my face is black. Like, it's bad, Jeff.
Oh man, I saw. I was there that weekend, so yeah, I remember. But I mean, I didn't see it the next day. But yeah,
at least you did. Yeah. I don't think I would have shown.
I know.
I got my flights booked. I'm ready to go. They're expecting, my clients expecting me. So, and I always, just the same intensity for work as martial arts or anything else, right? Like, you got to be committed. And anyway, from there, I said, I need to take a break. Like, I need to kind of reevaluate where are my priorities. I'm trying to do a lot of things at one time. Yeah. And so I kind of focused on my career at that point. And fast forward a little bit, I got into Rice University for my master's in business. And Rice is a pretty prestigious business school. So I really had to dedicate myself to that. I was still doing the consulting role. So I would literally fly. I went to Charlotte a bunch, and I would fly to Charlotte or something. Yes, same time. So I would fly to Charlotte or something on Monday. I'd work through Thursday. I'd fly home. I'd go to class on Friday and Saturday. I'm dating my wife now at the time. I was juggling a lot of balls, and I just couldn't fit martial arts in during that 5-10 year period.
Yeah. Wow.
Which was really cool. So from there, I I had always thought about being an FBI agent. Like I always thought that was a cool role. You see the TV and everything, and the
Can't make
FBI
it
show, yeah, right. So the FBI shows up at Rice, and they said, "Hey, like, why don't you use your business talents to like serve your country? Like, why don't you come do consulting for the FBI?" And
Whoa.
just from day one, I was
Now
just,
wait,
I was
time
just,
out. Just for a moment.
yeah,
Most people, if they say, yeah, and the FBI came to talk to me, they want to run.
Right.
I did something. I don't know what it was, but I don't want to talk to them right now.
exactly. So that was a really cool period. I actually wasn't an agent at the time. I was what they call professional staff. So like I didn't have a gun, but I worked for the Bureau, and I got to work at some very high levels with the Bureau, some executive management on business type projects, which was very exciting. And that opportunity was so cool. Like I look back on it now and I tell people, not trying to brag, but like, I got to go to the White House. I got to go to the CIA. I got to go, I mean, you name other agencies, and just so many cool experiences came out of that time. I really appreciated everything except for wearing a suit and tie every day. That was a little much, but
Wow.
it was really cool.
That's cool.
And then from there, and by the way, when I was living in Maryland, and commuting to Washington D.C. for work, I always was in passing talking with Cam Dawson. He's the one guy that I wish that I would have been able to tag up with when I was living in Maryland.
Wow.
That would have been cool, man. Imagine
Yeah.
those two big guys training with
Dude.
each other. I know. Good Lord.
Yeah, man,
One guy
I'd love to mix it
backflips
up with
bricks
him.
for training, and the other guy runs his face through him as he's blitzing.
We can't give all our secrets, Alex. I mean, that might be what we do.
I just did it.
But yeah, so from there I said, man, I want to be an agent. Like this stuff is very cool. Like I've enjoyed being at kind of the top of the house, but like I want to be on the ground level. Like I want to be working investigations. I want to be just helping people in that way. And so I put in to be an agent. I mean, I was really encouraged to do so, and I put in to be an agent. I went to the FBI Academy, and that brings me to San Antonio now, where I am an FBI agent. I work gangs and violent crime here in San Antonio, so I got my work cut out for me. But I love it. It's very rewarding and very cool. And during that time since I've been back is when I've picked up my martial arts journey. I kind of started doing some of the local tournaments again, and then Chad invited me. Jeff, you'll know this guy. I trained with TJ Lopez here in San Antonio.
Yeah, I was just talking to him the other day. So yeah.
Yeah, so his school is actually like 5 minutes from my house, and he's been so gracious to let me train with him and Owen Gunn from Team Gypsy. Like they all train there. Yeah, so that kind of takes me through the journey or whatever.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
cool.
that's so cool, dude. So
real quick,
explain,
you're getting some
like,
love right here.
Yeah.
Mike Bates is saying Charlie is the person who helped me with my check punch game. Mike, we were just talking about Charlie's check punch game.
Yeah.
Or like kamikaze check punch game at that.
So
That's right.
Charlie, like, just explain. I think you have talked about just like the importance of martial arts, definitely for the athletic part and getting you and your brother to that high level in sports. Sure. But even just the mindset and the stuff that you learned as a kid, how has that helped you get to where you are?
Just talking about how awesome the martial arts community is, and being able to travel and compete in all these tournaments, and then getting to go and live in different cities and almost like join the school. It's like I'm part of Alex's school, I'm part of Sean's school, and just really meeting people and building networks and relationships. Like I feel like that is the number one thing that martial arts has taught me. Like it has taught me the ability to communicate with anybody, at any level, of an organization or on the street or anything else, and just build relationships and make connections and be open and just go to war with people, man. I really like that.
That's awesome.
Well, I think what you did, Charlie, is you embraced what the martial arts community really has to offer. When some people say like, basketball's brought me here, baseball's, it's brought me around the world, martial arts can do the same thing. I always had a funny feeling about that when people say, like karate tournaments have brought me around the world. And I went, however, you booked your own plane ticket, right?
Yeah.
I don't know so much about they did that, right? But what it has to offer is it makes the world smaller in the sense
right.
that if you did find yourself in Orlando, you have some people you could look up, be like, hey man, we fought each other before. How you doing? But you have to embrace that, and excuse my French, you can't be a dick to everybody, right?
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Because then your world gets real small. Then nobody wants to talk to you, right? And I think that's also part of the reason why in competition, I think people don't like you in competition. I think in competition, I mean, this is I don't know this personally, right? Because really in competition, we've only been in tournaments together like a couple of times, right? We fought on a team together once. That was dope, by the way, right?
That was cool, yeah.
But I think sometimes in competition, people hate you. And one of the reasons why is because you're such a likable guy. However,
When you fight
like you're an a-hole, like you just run through people, and then you get back to the line and you're smiling. And they're like,
people don't know how to take it.
I actually hate this guy. I think they hate you and Alex Lane, because Alex Lane beats them, right? Yet he's just like this, nice guy who just happens to be like the best fighter in the world that year. And everybody's like, but how, right? And when they think they're going to pound him because he's, 3 inches wide, he kicks him in the face, right? So for two opposite extremes, I feel like sometimes people hate you.
Yeah, I can see that.
What do you think?
And well, I was going to say, Jeff, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the point where I actually ran over Chad Cannon, who was the head judge, to try to hit Lito over the top.
Yeah. Yeah, that was classic. I was like, I think on my comment, I put classic Charlie. Like, this is just what Charlie does. Because you did this at my tournament. Actually, it was the first year my tournament was a national tournament. You won the grand championship. And when it was our first year doing a stage, and when we told them the numbers, they went like right to the numbers. So it was kind of small, and there wasn't much room on the outside. And I remember you blitzing like threw people off the stage, and then like you had to like jump and land on tables and stuff like that. And this happened several times, and I'm just like, if Charlie wasn't fighting, this wouldn't have been that big of a deal. But he's just running everyone off on stage. And so you're just doing what you're doing. You have your game plan. To me, I would feel weird if I didn't bring this up with like rivalries. For me, I think of you and your brother versus Brandon Birch.
Yep.
You guys, if you look at you guys, you're kind of similar in like height, weight. Brandon is, was a great fighter on the NBL circuit, and forms as well, weapons, and a big guy. And watching you guys battle each other out was it got intense.
Yeah, I mean, I like to fight with a lot of heart, with a lot of passion, give everything I got, but keep it clean, right? Like, I can honestly say, like, I don't recall a single time that I hit late, in my opinion, but I'm going to follow up because I'm a Texas black belt, and that's what they teach you. You got to follow up your techniques and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I will say at the beginning of the Grand Prix, we were going through the rules and stuff. And I told the guys, I said, man, I feel very targeted right now. Because Chad was like, we got walls over here and walls over here, so just be careful. And everybody's like, yeah, Charlie. And I was like, come on, guys. Like, I feel like you're talking directly to me right now.
That's great.
So that's true. But hey, Alex, to your comment, dude, like, I know you and I are both believers and everything, and I just believe in treating everybody with respect and just loving everybody, right? Like, I have no enemies out there at all, and I'm just just trying to be cool with everybody, like, and, win or lose, like, I'm going to dap it up with you. Like, we're going to be cool. And, that's just the way I live my life,
But that's exactly it, Charlie. People aren't used to that.
Right.
It's strange to them. Right. If you came out and you were like, you know what, man, I got that. Screw you. That would be normal to a person to be like, yeah, we were just fighting. Right. I can kind of get that. I think what throws them off is the genuine joy and smile when they interact with you. I think that
Right.
throws people off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, at the end of the
But keep
day,
doing
like,
it. Absolutely keep doing it.
at the end of the day, people are going to remember you not for what you did or what you won, but for the kind of person you are, you know.
Exactly.
And I try to live my life that way, right? And at the end of the day, like, we all want to win. We're all in there to do the best we can. We're all professionals, but like, we are playing a game, and like, there are kids watching us, and like, you know, Alex, you have daughters. I have daughters too, right? I have family, you know, and I want everybody to be able to look at us and you know, hold our heads high, you know, and not. And show people how to be good sports and show people how to love each other and have good relationships, you know, before, during, and after. You know, I don't mind going up to somebody and being like, dude, you tagged me with that, bro. Like, good kick. Like, you know, or something like that. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm not too proud, you know.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Man.
we're all
So-
professionals. The other guy wants to win just as bad as I want to win. It's not like, you know, if I lose and I'm smiling or whatever, it's not like, oh, I didn't want to win. Like, I'm not being serious. Like, no, dude, I gave everything I had. So did he. And something my brother's told me lately that's kind of stuck in my head, you know, it's been a journey to come back into martial arts after being off. And, you know, I've lost some fights, you know, on the circuit that I feel like I should have won. And he's like, hey, man, the other guy's a professional too. Like, he's going to get a shot in. Like, don't feel bad about that.
Yo, is James
That's
gonna fight
encouraging.
again?
You know, James has been calling me about it. He's like, you know, so, you know, maybe we could train together because he's up in
Because all
Dallas.
this talk about it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff, wouldn't that be something?
Yeah. That would be cool,
I
man.
could say if we team fought, it would definitely be the biggest team out there for sure. Like,
Yeah.
No
Whoever
matter
you
who
pick
your,
with
no
you.
matter who your third guy was.
exactly.
Your third guy could be Jeff.
Yeah, and still be the biggest team.
Yo, you brought
No,
something up. I want to bring this up and make it a truth moment. So you brought it up and you said, you know, Alex, we both have daughters. So, truth moment. I did not see your fight live. All right. I tried to even in the
Oh,
moment,
God.
and I realized this is a
Jeez.
bad dad moment. So Saturday,
This is crazy story.
I'm gonna make it as Cliff Notes as I can. So Saturday was supposed to be a calm, chill day, right? And I'm downstairs sending some emails. My wife's upstairs getting ready. My daughter and my middle son are upstairs playing in my daughter's room while my baby boy is asleep in the swing. And I hear a scream, "Daddy, Daddy!" I run upstairs, and she's staring right at me. She goes, "I swallowed it." And I go, "What did you swallow?" She says, "I
Oh,
swallowed
no.
a battery." And I said, "What do you mean you swallowed a battery?" So she said, "It looks like a button," right? And I knew what it was. Somebody for her birthday gave her, great friend of ours, not their fault, gave her a unicorn nightlight that has remote control. That for some, you know, those little circle batteries that kind of have a little circle like that. It doesn't even have a back on it. You could just pop it out. This girl has had this thing of just playing with things in her mouth all the time, necklaces, whatever it may be. This toy, like, get out of your mouth, get it out of your mouth. So playing with it in her mouth, she swallows it on accident. Thankfully, screams for me. We try to get it out, can't get it out. ER right away. So we go to ER. That place doesn't have a pediatrics department. They're going to send her to somewhere. So like, no, we're out of here. We're pulling her out of there. We go. We get. I'm not even kidding you, Jeff. You saw the picture I sent you, right?
Yeah.
I sent Jeff a picture of the X-ray, and you can't even make it up. Like it's like
we're right there.
boom, right here.
Yeah.
It's like pow, like a flashlight.
It's like a cartoon, you know.
Now here's the scary part. So the scary part was the first hospital we went to said, "You know what? Don't worry about it. Calm down. There's no rush. Everything's going to be okay. We got the X-ray ordered, maybe like half an hour or so." And I'm like, "We've already been waiting an hour." They're like, "Don't worry about it. It's in there. She's not choking. Everything's going to be okay." And I'm like, "That don't seem right." And we look, and sure enough, when everything I looked up said, "Get this out immediately. Within 2 hours, it could be fatal," because what could happen is that acids could leak.
The leak.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, "You guys don't know what the heck you're talking about. I'm getting the heck out of there." We get out. This guy puts her under, takes it out. Now, so everything is great. Okay. Here's the hardest part. Hardest part was we get back. She's fine. and she looks at me and she knows that Lindsay and I have to leave, and she's gonna go by herself. She's not been without one of us this entire time.
Right.
And then she just looks at me and her eyes just start watering up, and I have to just say, go. Right. And I'm like, God, you kidding me? And they're like, don't worry about it. She's not going to remember this. And I'm like, I'm going to remember that. Fast forward. It's done. It's out. Doctor came and he was like, she handled it better than any 5-year-old I've ever dealt with. She's amazing. Everything's good.
Wow.
She's fine. Going to recovery. Yeah. It's going to be good. Congratulations. Here's your little girl. How would you handle that, Charlie? You got a little girl? What would you have done?
Man, my daughter's 5 months old, so I definitely don't have the experience you have yet when it comes to those things, Alex. But it sounds like you handled it as good as you could, man. And praise God she was okay.
Yes, definitely. No, it's a blessing, man.
No idea how I could handle that.
And any insiders that don't know, the little this is the inside scoop with Alex and Jeff that first kicks off. That's my daughter who's saying that.
Yeah.
Like one time a couple of years ago, she came down when she was supposed to be asleep. She came downstairs while we were recording the show. She's like, she crashed the show basically. And then we told her to say that. And Travis, as great as he is, recorded that. Right. So when you hear that at the start of it, that's what you're hearing. You're hearing Luisa say that. So and it was
awesome, man. So, well, hey, I'm glad that everybody is safe, and we were all praying, when you told us about it. So, man, it's
but it's a big deal. Those little, I didn't realize they're that dangerous. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So
Carmichael's giving you love.
Yeah, Carmichael, let's put that up there. Thanks once again, Charlie. You put on an amazing show at Censor Sports. So. Awesome, man.
Thank y'all.
Yeah, man. All right, so Charlie, how do you want to end the show? What would you want to tell everybody? All right, we haven't really said it like this in a long time, but send your voicemail out to the world. Okay, so if you could have a voicemail to the world, what do you want to tell them? And send them off that way.
Man, I think the biggest testament that I've learned like over this time, like all these stories and everything is just do the best with where God put you, right? Like, when I was in Virginia, Chicago, Dallas, coming here, going there, like wherever you're at, man, just try to make an impact and just live your best life, right? Like, be the best kind of person that you can be. So I guess that would be my voicemail to the world is just be the best that you can be wherever you're at for whatever amount of time, and whoever you're impacting and being a part of, just do the best you can,
Awesome, dude. Awesome, man. It's been a pleasure talking to you again. Been a pleasure meeting you and knowing you and seeing you come up in the ranks. And anytime I see you at a tournament, it was like a cool thing just to see you because you're always just happy to be there. You know what I mean? Excited to be there and continue bringing that to the world, man.
I will, man. Hey, thank you guys. You guys are awesome.
And watch out for when James and Charlie team up.
Yeah.
Who's going to be their third fighter? Watch out. Who's it going to be? Yo, how old are you now?
32.
Oh, you're still young, man.
I still got some gas in the tank.
You.
Yeah.
Jeez. And what does that make James? What? He's what, 20?
30, 31. Yeah. So he's only 18 months younger.
Wow.
Oh, man. You guys got prime years left.
We sure do, man. We'll do what we can, man. Appreciate it, guys.
No problem. All right, Alex.
This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I am Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. See you guys next week. Have a blessed week. Thanks, Charlie.
Thank y'all.